Almost exactly a year ago, a devastating flood hit Nebraska. Already, the people that weren't affected by the flood have already forgotten about it. However, the people that were hit by the flood are still rebuilding and trying to recover what was lost. This goes to show that the effects of climate change are not being taken seriously, as it should. Climate action and change has affected Nebraska tremendously and has caused several severe problems throughout history and is getting worse. In the past years, like anything else, there have been many events that have occurred that are connected to climate change. Ever hear the saying, the 100-year flood? According to old wise tales, a flood is supposed to occur every 100 years. The last major flood that occurred in Nebraska, before the major flood of last year, was in 1993. The 100-year flood is about 73 years early, according to an old wise tale. This is a prime example of how much has changed in our climate, that old wise tales that predicted the weather are no longer even close to being true. The flood of 2019 was devastating across Nebraska. When the flood hit Nebraska, it impacted the infrastructure, like highways and bridges, and for the majority, it affected people with livestock the most. The flood killed hundreds, if not even thousands, of livestock that cost the agricultural industry something that was almost too much to handle. From all the damages across Nebraska, the cost of the flood surpassed $1.3 billion worth of damage. Still, even after this devastating occurrence that's connected to climate change, climate action is still not being acted upon. In order for anything to be done about climate change and take action upon it, there needs to be some sort of organization or government law to handle this. There are several big and small groups and organizations that are working for a better tomorrow across the world. Luckily for Nebraska, the state has a major organization to take such action called NCV, or Nebraska Conservation Voters. NCV is an organization of people who supports conservation ideals and is working towards protecting our entire environment for future generations. As stated from the organization's website, NCV collaborates strategically with appointed and elected officials and partner organizations on rules, regulations, and environmental legislation. The people involved advocate and educate other people and take action for a better world. They are already working towards cleaner energy and to reduce the reliance of fossil fuels across the entire state of Nebraska, which affect climate change. The organization NCV is just one of the many organizations that are taking action upon climate change and trying to reduce its effects. In summation, throughout the years, climate action and change has affected Nebraska tremendously and has caused several severe problems. From changes in weather patterns to major floods, climate change is a real problem and shouldn't be pushed aside. What has happened in the past is usually forgotten and seems not important anymore. What many people fail to realize is that these problems don't just go away and everything doesn't go back to normal, whatever a person's definition of normal is. So, even almost a year later, when the major flood of 2019 occurred, it has already been forgotten. This goes to show how important climate change is, but how little people do anything about it.